Future State Flash. We missed that last week because we thought it comes out this week. Because usually Flash is always on a second week. It's either the second or fourth week. But no, they tricked us. It was actually week 1 for Future State. So, Barry...
Here's all you need to know.
Here's all you need to know. It doesn't make sense.
Flash dead!
Flash
dead!
Flash dead!
Flash dead!
Yeah, so essentially, Barry gets all the Rogue's weapons, goes to confront Wally, pretty much essentially kind of kills Wally to get Famine. Then Famine says some stuff like, I'm the Famine of all speedsters and hope, yada yada. The story doesn't end properly, because it actually ties into Future State Teen Titans, and that's a problem we have with Future State, is just how convoluted the timeline is. It doesn't take place in one future timeline. It takes place across future timelines at different points in the timeline. So, a title which came out... Teen Titans came out in January. It came out last month. And this sets up that. And as Cool was saying, yes and no. It both does and doesn't set it up. And I don't know... what was even the point of Flash? Like I said in the earlier, now unpublished stream, I like Flash, and this book made me not want to read Flash anymore.
It's weird because like if the spoilers that we're going to talk about at the end of the stream are true, then like this is like the most pivoting treatment of Wally we've ever seen.
Yeah. And that's something we're going to talk about after our Future State stuff. We're going to talk about the Infinite Frontier spoilers, because
the Infinite Frontier of Batman.
Yes, because apparently some spoilers came out. I'm guessing Rich the Leech. Did he reveal them? Cause
I don't know.
Does.
I actually had a friend send me. A friend posted them, and I posted them to him, and he's like, "Yeah, I was the one who read those."
Okay. Sure. But moving on from what I called the race to disappointment, we go to a different lane, which is Justice League, which was actually good. So Justice League, hopefully this time we can actually get through all of Justice League before the internet cuts out again. Please, fucking Wi-Fi God, please fucking keep it stable.
So the Justice League goes is on Earth Omega, if I remember correctly, and they're basically infighting each other all the way back home.
Yes.
Meanwhile, the Hyper Clan are committing deeds of good in the Justice League's name, but also they're building a super duper secret satellite network that will blow up the world. I'm hyperbolizing there, but that's the general gist of the plan.
They're pretending to be good so they can fuck everyone over.
So the Thunderbolts.
So Thunderbolts. They're pretty much thunderbolting the whole thing, and essentially
Justice League wins.
Yeah, Justice League wins, obviously, and essentially it still carries on, and it is a theme that a lot of Justice League stories like to do. Of the old ways of the Justice League definitely are imperfect, and it doesn't work for this current generation. So they learn to move on from that and be more open. As John wanted, he wants the Justice League to be more accessible and more open to others. It's not just always the core members that are part of the Justice League. No, there always has to be a Superman, there always has to be a Batman, there always has to be a Wonder Woman, all of that. They want essentially something similar to like Hickman's Avengers. They're all part of the Avengers, and it just rotates.
Yeah, that's what I said back in the stream before it ended. Is that Hickman's Avengers was the idea of like having a wide cast of characters and then picking 2 or 3 or 4 for a certain arc.
Yeah. Yep. As Jacob says. Yep. So Justice League Unlimited or Hickman's Avengers, as you said. Yeah, pretty much. I think that's the idea that John wanted. He wanted more members on the Justice League, so it's not always just to them, but more importantly, for them to be more trusting of each other, because a lot of them just don't know each other, so they don't trust each other, which ties into the whole Hyper Clan being White Martians in impersonation and all of that. it's a story that's always been done. The Justice League don't trust each other.
They're always infighting.
They're
That
always-
was that was the part of the book where I was like, okay, let's
Okay.
do something different.
Yeah, please do something different. But it ends on a high note. It ends, and it's something. A lot of what we've read for the finales for DC Future State is that they don't have a proper conclusion. This one has a semi-conclusion because it leaves it open-ended, and I'm fine with it. It literally
It feels like the kind of the capstone of Future State, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I felt like this should have just ended Future State, like this title, but no. So yeah, our thoughts on Justice League. It was good. I liked it. It wasn't original, but
I'd give
it
it
was
a
good.
B.
I'd give it a B. Oh yeah, we didn't re-rate Flash. D.
D.
Flash is honestly, aside from The Idiot of Metropolis, is probably the worst title. Just because I literally had no idea what was happening. As I said in the previous stream, first thing I did after waking up and having breakfast was read everything I needed to read for today and for this stream. And Flash was the first thing I read because, well, we missed it. It's going to be the first thing we're talking about. Might as well read that one first. And I had no idea what was going on. And I didn't know if that was either the story itself or because I wasn't fully awake yet. But I'm going to say it's probably the story itself, because the story itself doesn't make any sense. I would have a much better time understanding it if Bendis, of all people, wrote this. And that's Brian Michael Bendis. That's someone who I don't want to read.
I actually want to point this out that like Bendis actually has like all the ingredients for a good run on Justice League right in front of him.
But
the
the problem is he's going to push
funny
Naomi constantly.
Oh no, yeah, she's gonna lead the Justice League after Oliver steps down.
Yeah, Oliver's just going to decide, this ain't for me. And Batman's like, yeah, I'm not going to lead it again. And Naomi's going to like, why not me? Because I'm getting a CW show.
From the person who was supposed to do New Gods, but that keeps getting pushed back forever. So we gotta give her something to do.
Hopefully gets pushed back into cancellation. I don't want to. I don't want an Ava DuVernay and Tom King New Gods film. Because remember, King's attached to it. So that's just going to be fucking Depression, the movie.
Guys, I'm sad.
I'm sad. My name is Mr. Miracle. I should change myself to Mr. Sad.
Darkseid is.
Darkseid is. Here's
Veggie Tray.
He's literally just going to do a 9-panel on screen. Constantly. He will.
He's going to do a Veggie Tray.
He's going to, yeah, just veggie trays, yeah. But yes, Flash bad, Justice League good. Now onto stuff we didn't talk about before the stream cut out. Green Lantern. So what are your thoughts on... Well, we'll first go through the what the main story was. The main story continuing on. John and the rest of the former Green Lanterns, because they don't have their rings...
they made their final stand.
They make their final stand. Now John is the only one left fighting off against the vanguards of the God in Red. He's facing off against one of their leaders, and he's trying to hold the line while everyone else gets evacuated. That's essentially what the story is. That's essentially it.
So it's Halo Reach.
It's essentially Halo Reach, but not as good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got the two backups. One of them is Teen Lantern and Mogo.
Yeah, I feel like
is it Mogo?
Yeah, it's Mogo. Because they're investigating her gauntlet, which may have ties to Krona, because Krona had the power gauntlet because he made it. But these stories, before we go into the backup story, I'm going to talk about the main story. The main story wasn't bad. But I feel like what we said with Philip Kennedy Johnson with the first issue of Superman Worlds of War, he understands the concept of Superman, of what Superman should mean to everyone, but we don't see him probably implement how he writes Superman, because Superman is only in 1% of that issue. With Green Lantern here, Jeffrey Thorne has the most minimal, basic, fundamental understanding of any of like the human Green Lantern, or just any Green Lantern in general. It's not about the power ring. It's the person who uses it. They're the one that's actually really powerful. You know, what they do with the powering. Like, you know, John has a kind of a similar line in there in the actual book. And okay, Jeffrey Thorne, you get the basics of that, but like comparing the two.
Show me that you can do it.
Show me that you can do it. But the problem is, he doesn't, because despite the fact it's called Green Lantern, he doesn't write any of the Green Lanterns as Green Lanterns. He writes them as
he wrote them as like apocalyptic, as Mad Max characters.
He writes them as Mad Max character, and then Deus Ex Orion arrives. Or even is that even Orion? Because there are also people. Some of the people there's like, was that actually Orion that appeared, or was that like a hologram?
I'm wondering if it was like Orion merged with a mother box or something.
Maybe. He's looking like pink Darkseid.
Darkseid is. And Jacob says, I would legitimately walk out of the theater if they had a Darkseid double dip veggie chips in a movie. I would walk out as soon as I got in. Then why'd you go?
I don't know. So I can make a YouTube video complaining about something I gave money to watch. The cycle never ends. But yeah, the main story. Before we get to the side stories, the main story of Green Lantern. Yeah, like Jeffrey Thorne has the very minimal understanding of what a Green Lantern should be, but fails to actually show us that he understands them and actually knows how to write them.
I'm hoping that Thorne. It's not just because Thorne was forced by editorial to do like the Last Stand of the Green Lanterns.
Yeah,
and like he can actually do it.
Yeah,
but
yeah, but I think the main problem is like the entirety of Future State with the majority of the writers for this. This is their preview of what
it's supposed to be like a trailer for what's happening.
Yeah, it's a trailer for like what we can expect, which is essentially what the two tie-ins essentially do, even though they're not written by Jeffrey Thorne, despite the fact he's going to be writing those characters. He's going to be writing Teen Lantern, he's going to be writing Joe, and also John. He's writing all three of those characters for Green Lantern because they're the main three leading that series.
It's weird because Joe isn't even in this backup, or she's not even in the main story. She's in a backup.
She's in a backup for one page, and it's literally the last page. And
yeah,
I don't know. I don't particularly have high hopes for Thorne's run after reading this. I wasn't particularly impressed. Art was good for the most part. Yeah, it was fine. So I'd give this, the main story I'd give a C+. I think it was above average. Yeah, C+. But
so it's at the bottom of the top half of the Future State books, I think.
Yeah, like it's just slightly gone over the middle, but it's in a danger state essentially. It ends itself in a danger state because this is the final issue. And that also leaves it open-ended because, Deus Ex Orion is like, I didn't want you to kill people in my name, because the thing is, Orion is the God in Red. That's the reveal. He's the God in Red. And except for the main warrior, everyone else stands down, and then John takes control. John leads them now.
Is it bad that I liked that they did that kind of poll with you would assume like conventionally it would be like Atrocitus.
Yeah, God in Red.
God in Red.
I did.
Yeah, so I do
like that. I do like that. I didn't expect it to be Orion, of all people, to be the God in Red that they worshipped. Considering he's not particularly, for the most part, he's not warlike. He even says like, I didn't make you to be vanguards of war. Like, I want you to be soldiers, but not you like pillaging and like just killing all of
pillage,
these
rape, and loot.
Yeah, pretty much. You're not Vikings. You're my warriors, my soldiers at arms. But I did like that. It was an interesting twist that was actually Orion of all people. But yeah, it ends with John is now the leader of Orion's forces, essentially. He's now the Sword of Orion, because Orion's like, John is my pal. Listen to him. Essentially, that's essentially what he says. It's John Good. Listen to John. He know what to do. So John leads these new forces. So it leaves it more open-ended than Justice League. Because it's just like, yeah, John has these forces, and that's it.
Fuck it.
Fuck it. And Jacob says, well, Orion is a god, and he's always wearing red. Yeah, okay, bad joke. I agree, you shouldn't have said that joke.
Well, and I made that point because, you know, considering it's a Green Lantern book and Green Lanterns, I don't know how often they intersect with like the New Gods bullshit.
I think they've done it more recently. And
New
52 and Rebirth.
I'm thinking like traditionally New Gods don't tend to intersect with like the Green Lantern stuff.
Yeah, it's only
just because you have to nerf the Green Lanterns in order to make the New Gods necessary to be in the plot.
Yeah. Which was also like a crossover story arc, Godhead, I think it was called, where like
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, with the Green Lantern and Sinestro titles. Oh, the Green Lantern titles, Sinestro and I think Red Lantern's also crossed over with them. Facing off against the New Gods for some reason. I think more recently they've been crossing over. Like Orion appeared in Howlin' Pals, I think, quite often. I think he appeared leading like to the conclusion of like the Dark Stars arc. I think Orion was one of the people that helped join like the fight against them, because you had Kyle was using Hal's ring, so he had like Hal's personality. He had the Green Lanterns, obviously, then Orion, and then Zod, because it's okay. We need Zod. He's powerful, and also Zod had a personal stake because the one leading the Dark Stars was the son of the Green Lantern that he viewed as failed to save Krypton. Just like, he's pretty much doing a Bane scenario of just like, you're guilty of your father's sin, so I'm gonna enact my revenge on you. But I'm pretty sure, Orion was definitely in that arc. Jacob adds, that was during the Venditti era. Yep, Highfather wanted Kyle's White Lantern ring because it was the life equation, I think. Okay, yeah, that's the Godhead arc. Yeah, because, Kyle was a White Lantern. I remember that. I remember when Kyle was a White Lantern. Literally the most OP Lantern ever. But he still got dicked over a few times.
The one time it worked was Omega Men.
Yeah. I think at that point that was when Kyle was like, I'm gonna split my ring. So I think that's why it worked, because it's just like, I'm gonna split my ring. It's gonna have like aspects of the White Lantern powers in it, but it's gonna be split between like the 7 cores,
the rest of the spectrum. Yeah,
the rest of the spectrum. But then in the end, he gets him back anyway. Until it gets too much for him, and he has to choose which Lantern he wants to become, and obviously he's gonna be Green Lantern again.
Why wouldn't you want to be a White Lantern when you're basically like Turbo God?
Essentially, yeah.
Anyways,
essentially Turbo God. But the side stories.
Anyways, Teen Lantern. I'm glad they Venus had a problem with trying to make Green Lantern or Teen Lantern the next hotcakes.
Yeah,
and this is basically like DC's response to that. It's like, fuck you.
Yeah, the problem with Teen Lantern I have is how she got her powers.
She's so wacky, guys.
She's so wacky and cool. She's another smart black teen. Which,
how many of those has Bendis written?
Bendis, we don't need to see your kinks.
Or your kids.
Or your kids in DC Comics.
Shit.
Oh no, that better not be the same fucking thing, Bendis. Oh no. Chris Hansen here. Why don't you take a seat?
Hi, why don't you take a seat over there?
Why don't you take a seat over there? So you've been texting this girl Naomi. Do you know she's actually 16 years old? Yeah, she said she was older.
This was fine. I mean,
it was fine. I think it was only there to set up her with the
Thorn's run. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's literally the plot point for the start of that run. They're investigating Teen Lantern's gauntlet. Then
Mogo dies.
Then Mogo dies. Then he doesn't, because Teen Lantern decides to just fucking
because of the gauntlet.
jack the gauntlet
She
into it.
just jams the gauntlet into essentially his skin.
Yeah, and
Take your COVID vaccine.
essentially just powers him back up again. Let's see. Jacob says Kyle never really used the White Lantern powers like Hal did. He used the individual powers of the Spectrum. Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's how DC writ themselves out of Kyle being overpowered, is the fact he just used individual powers of the Spectrum instead. He just didn't go full on White Lantern. And then he adds at least 10 since he came to DC. God knows how many at Marvel. Well, at Marvel, I think he only had Riri Williams. That was it. Of like smart black girl with afro hair. It's been more apparent in DC. You had Naomi, you had Teen Lantern. Although to be fair,
I think it also helps that we've caught on to the trend.
Yeah, Teen Lantern. Although Teen Lantern could be half Patrick Gleason, because apparently Patrick Gleason always had that idea, so that's a 50-50. And then Red Cloud. It's like, Bendis, we get it. Your daughter, or you just you like black coffee.
You like this architect. You are not architect. You like this archetype of character.
Yeah, but it's getting old. We're caught onto it. Do something new, and trim down your fucking dialogue. Before you stop using the archetype, cut down your dialogue. That's more important on like the list of what Bendis needs to do. It goes from lowest to highest. Stop using that archetype. Fix your dialogue. Just leave comics.
Or go to fucking Boom or IDW or Image. Go write creator owned. Bendis is unironically good. Venus, go write a creator owned.
It's obvious. It's obvious he cares more about his fucking Jinx World stuff.
You mean the stuff that's dead?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the stuff he cared about. Then DC's just like, yeah, it's not Batman. We're not supporting this.
Oof.
But
and then the last backup is basically, I guess a spiritual sequel to Hal and Pals.
Yeah. So the backup is written by Robert Venditti, who did Hal and Pals, as we call it. Hal believes himself to be the last Green Lantern. He's just lost all communication with them. So he's just essentially, Hal is just flying across space, just
looking for things,
and just noting, now that the Green Lanterns are gone, look how messed up everything is. Just like you got fucking Sinestro Corps members just going about. You have like Red Lanterns killing everything. Fucking Luffy.
They're in Warworld, I think.
Yeah, Warworld is back up and back at it again.
Then you got Fleas.
Luffy.
And a Space Octopus.
Yeah, and Space Octopus, all that, until he crashes on. It's not Oa, because Oa got destroyed. I remember. Whatever world they use his
Mogo. Mogo, I think, is the.
Yeah, Mogo is the replacement. But that didn't look like Mogo, because Mogo left with Teen Lantern.
I wonder if the assumption is that like Oa is like where the Lantern Battery resided, because this is where the Lantern Battery is.
Yeah, so it must be like a new Oa or another world or something that served as their replacement. I assume they made another one, because I don't think they would just say, "Hey Mogo, go off on adventures with the fucking central power battery." Literally the source of our power.
They might have just dropped everything off on this planet before.
Yeah, like New Oa or something.
Anyways, Hal crashes, and then Joe is there. Even though I always just assumed that she was like an Elseworlds character. Like they mentioned the other Green Lanterns in Far Sector, but she's had very little interaction with them. I don't think they've even been in the book.
Yeah, and it makes more sense for her to be in like Future State and in Justice League, because they also have a member. Their Flash is from a different Earth, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that Joe was also from a different Earth. But like, yeah, it's a bit weird that she's here. And she's like, look what you've done. Look at this. This is all your fault.
What have you?
were you?"
Where were you when the Green Lantern Corps needed you? It's like, where have you been?
Yeah, like, where have you been? Like,
I did like her ring still works, because if you've read Far Sector, her ring is I think it's like a prototype that's self-reliant. It doesn't rely on the central power battery.
yeah, well,
So
yeah,
it can
similar,
operate under its own
similar
power.
to Hal's after his whole willpower entity skit thing.
Yeah, so I do like that their rings do still work. So
Yeah.
good for them.
It makes sense for
Good
them.
work. Good continuity, guys.
Yeah, yay! In a future timeline which doesn't matter at all because it's not canon. There's some form of
In a
canon.
in a continuityless timeline that makes no fucking sense and is out of order. Congratulations, you did something right.
It did something right. So the Teen Lantern one, I was okay with. It wasn't anything too special.
B minus.
B minus.
B for the Howlin' Pals finale.
Yeah, B for the Howlin' Pals finale. Yeah.
Can I express real quick, since we talked about it earlier in our DMs, but there was no Jess follow up, and that made me sad.
Yeah. Just realized I didn't change the banner. There we go. I was upset too. There was no Jess follow up. I don't know why.
Especially, which is disappointing because Jess has been one of my favorite DC characters, because I've mentioned before, but Rebirth was like my entryway into DC, or at least the wider one aside from Batman. Well, thanks DC. You introduced me through Batman. God damn it.
It's okay. That was the same with me. Snyder Batman is how I got into DC. Mainly got into DC.
But Jessica Cruz was one of the characters that I really related to because of her anxiety and inability to face her fears, and fighting through her own trauma to become a person who can use willpower.
It was a natural progression because you would have assumed like her getting now she has a proper powering. She was using the Earth 3 powering that fed off fear, but now she's a proper Green Lantern. You would naturally assume it's all good now. Well, no, it's not, because that's not how it should work.
And then the future state, the backup was really interesting because like what happens because you never get rid of your fear, you just push it down with willpower. So what happens when you embrace the fear? That would have been a great premise to do like a Sinestro Corps book on.
Yeah.
Or at least see Jess try to avoid the conventional Sinestro Corps philosophy of like, using fear as a weapon, but instead using it as like a tool for peace.
Yeah.
And using it to connect with people, because that's interesting, but I guess we can't have that.
Yeah. So yeah, literally just trying again with that angle with the Sinestro Corps, because they tried that in Rebirth, like early on in Howlin' Pals, because Saranic was now leading the Sinestro Corps, like after Sinestro fucking went boom. Well, he went boom, but actually didn't. But she was leading it now.
Then he went to the ultraviolet spectrum, guys.
Yeah,
Once
wow,
again,
so great.
Scott Snyder.
There's the appropriate response, yeah.
That's Scott Snyder 2020.
Oh, hey, I can write something about this. Jacob says Jessica's been kind of ditched since Rebirth ended. Unfortunately, actually, pretty much all the GLs have except for
actually
Howard and
she's actually had a pretty large presence in Justice League Odyssey. Like she led the team after like issue 12.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Although the thing is, I don't think anyone really read.
But no one read Justice League Odyssey.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. Of the three Justice Leagues, it was probably the weakest. That's even counting like.
No, yeah.
Like towards the end of Snyder's run on Justice League, like Odyssey was still the weakest because it suffered from the fact that despite the fact it launched off of Metal, No Justice and Metal, but then it really had nothing to do with anything else. It was just so far off its own thing, which can be a good thing, but it didn't really matter in the end. And also with Darkseid, it's just like, yeah, we know he's a villain.
Congratulations, you're explaining like the most explainable thing to us.
Also,
But yeah,
I would have liked to see the original cut, because remember, Stefan Sajic had original artwork of like which showed Jessica leading the Green Lanterns against Darkseid. I'm just like
that would have been cool.
That would have been cool. That
And then
would be
Abnett
great.
took over.
Yeah, Abnett, you're fine. You're just not the best at cosmic stuff without Lanning.
And yeah, I know you and Lanning had a fight, but Mom and Dad need to come back together for one more cosmic epic.
Yes.